Our speaker today is Wally Miars, recently retired from 30 years of electrical contracting. As a way to enhance his retirement, Wally and his wife deliver RVs throughout the country on a part-time basis. He has hiked thousands of miles on trails around the U.S. and Canada, including all of the Appalachian Trail and all of the Tahoe Rim Trail. In addition to hiking, he enjoys hunting elk in Montana. Wally is a 16-year member of the Rotary Club in Charlotte, Michigan, where he also serves as Eaton County Commissioner. He and his wife of 41 years have raised 4 children and are enjoying 9 grandchildren. They hike every chance they get, and I believe we're about to hear why. Wally's book, Alone Together, has enjoyed 5-star reviews on Amazon.com and the Barnes & Noble's website. Please welcome Wally.
Every year, approximately 3,000 men and women attempt what's called a thru-hike, where you hike the entire 2,200 miles of the Appalachian Trail in one year. Typically, on a typical year, only about 10% actually finish it. The Appalachian Trail starts in northern Georgia and goes to northern Maine. It's just approximately 2,200 miles. Typical backpacker on a day-to-day basis will burn on a full day of hiking, backpacking, anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000 calories, which means that when you go into a restaurant when you're hiking, what you're looking for is fat and grease and salt. And so wouldn't that be nice every day? So I lost 35 pounds on the Appalachian Trail. Unfortunately, you know how that goes. I gained it all back. The Appalachian Trail is well marked along the way with the white blaze that's on the trees and the rocks and wherever they can get a blaze. Nobody gets lost, but everybody ends up missing a turn every now and then and hiking a little bit off the trail. I did it a couple times. One guy did it. He went 13 miles back the wrong way, and he got out to a fire station, and he thought, boy, that looks familiar. And he realized that for 13 miles he'd been hiking backwards. So it's not all woods and soft path. These rock scrambles like this are a part of the trail too. But that's the kind of trail you like. I was hiking with people in their 20s. That's Scout, who I hiked approximately 1,100 miles with and became good friends with. And that's the one in the lead there is Firefly, another one. Like I said, it's not all dirt. This is a place called the Knife Edge, and what you can't see is that is the peak that just seems like it goes straight down on both sides. I don't know how you can stack rocks that steep, but you're basically you're hopping from rock to rock very carefully. So it's not all just trail through the woods. Here's a typical climb. Sometimes you're not hiking, you're mountain climbing, and that's me in Pennsylvania. And here's a place, and it's just a few feet, but it's called the Squeeze, and it's in Maine. And you literally you have to take your backpack off. You can see that arrow there. That's pointing to the hole. You have to crawl in there, pulling your backpack behind you. And I would need a stick of butter to smear all over me to get through there now. But some of the trail is pasture. The Appalachian Trail Conservancy through the federal government gets easements so that you can hike through private land, and this is one of those cases where you're hiking through a horse pasture. That happens to me. My daughter, who hiked some with me, not a lot. And then you cross, this is the Bear Mountain Bridge, which crosses the Hudson River, not too far from New York City, and it's a typical way to get across rivers. And there's another small bridge. That's my wife, who is, by the way, a polio survivor. We've been married 40 years. I hiked the trail, most of it without her, but she visited me a couple times. And I put that picture in there because that is a swamp. And that system of boards was built by volunteers. You know, Rotary is, what's our motto? Service above self. And the Appalachian Trail I think is the greatest trail in the world, and it's not the greatest trail because of the geography. People travel from all over the world to hike the Appalachian Trail. What makes the Appalachian Trail what it is the volunteers. And this is a good example here. They are volunteers who man a canoe across the Kennebec River. The Kennebec River has a dam upriver, the hydroelectric dam, and some computer in Massachusetts says we need more electricity. And so the computer flips the switch, and then the dam opens up, and all of a sudden what was knee-deep water can become can wash you away. And actually a lady did drown, and that's when they established this canoe, and volunteers man it every day to help hikers across. Seen a lot of waterfalls, beautiful ones. The geography was wonderful. Any of you ever heard of the song, the bluegrass song, Good Old Rocky Top? That's Rocky Top. That's the peak of Rocky Top Mountain, Tennessee. When I crossed it, it was 9 degrees and probably about 20, 25 mile an hour winds. So to me, it's not good old Rocky Top, it's just Rocky Top. And that's a view of the Smoky Mountains. And this, you know, in the South, they have a sense of humor. We'd been hiking all day on a mountain called Butt Mountain, and we couldn't figure out why until we up towards the peak. We found this funny-shaped rock, so we all had fun taking pictures. Nobody wanted to volunteer their toilet paper to stick in there. There are approximately 250 shelters on the Appalachian Trail, and these are typically 3 sides with a roof and open to the air, but it gets you out of the rain, and it becomes then the social life for the Appalachian Trail, and is where typically people would plan on camping or staying that night or having lunch. And we were thankful for every one of those. This is in this case we weren't going to make it to a shelter. We were tired, and there was 4 tents there. You can't see the 4th one being put up. The guy on the right, Cedar Moe, when he made us, he had macaroni and cheese with tuna mixed in, and it's a no-no, but he didn't clean his mess up. So that night a bear came in. And the tent on the right, that bear came over by his tent and was cleaning the mess up for him. And I'm on the left. I'm in the tent on the left, and it's facing away from the encampment. So all I hear is a commotion, and everybody else is watching this bear, and they're all terrified. Well, I get this call to nature because I just got woke up in the middle of the night. So in the process of getting out of my tent, I scare the bear, and the bear kind of runs this way. And that just happens to be where I go to take care of business. And so everybody's watching this, and they're thinking, wow. Well, I just got out and ran that bear off. I didn't know. I didn't even know he was there. The next morning, they're all talking about the bear, and I said, well, what bear? So anyway, I got to be a hero for a few hours until the gig was up the next morning. So. We always everybody carried a tent because you couldn't always make it to the shelter. This lady here her and her husband were retired, and it was their first year of retirement, and they were going to hike the Appalachian Trail. Here again, shelters. You made a lot of friends. I was really glad for this shelter. I left Hot Springs, North Carolina. The guy that runs the outfitter store, I asked him what the weather is supposed to be, and he said, well, according to the weatherman, it's supposed to be a little drizzle for today and then warming up after today. And so I hiked out of Hot Springs with confidence that I was going to be okay, and I hiked into 12 inches of snow and high winds. And late March. In fact, if any of you NASCAR fans, it was the year they had to blow snow off of the track to have the race, and the crews had snowball fights. That was in Bristol, Tennessee, not far from there. These are hostels, and I've never counted them, but there's probably 25 hostels along the way, and what they are is people along the trail will open up their house, their barn, their garage or something, and they will house hikers, and it's a place. Sometimes you get a meal with a stay, you get a warm bed, sometimes with even a pillow, and you get a shower, which is when you've been on the trail for a week without a shower, it's always good to get one. Those are phenomenal. Those were for anywhere from $5 to $20. You got a place to stay and take a shower, and a lot of times, in this case, it was a meal of blueberry pancakes. These are trail angels, and it's called trail. They serve what's called trail magic, and this is one of the fun traditions on the Appalachian Trail. Is locals will come out and bring food in their trunk and water, and they'll meet the hikers at, in this case, a parking lot or a road crossing, and somewhere where they can feed the hikers, and sometimes it's burgers, and sometimes it's hot dogs, sometimes it's just a snack and something cold to drink. But I always enjoyed the trail angels. It was fun to meet the locals, and they really enjoyed getting out and meeting the hikers. And here again, it's these locals. You know, I think about my community, and I think about many of the good things that our community has to offer to families. And you'll find volunteers in the background somewhere on a lot of those things. It's what makes our communities great. And there's me with, I can't remember the lady's name right now, but enjoying some trail magic. And here's another swamp that was made passable by volunteers who went into those swamps with and cut those boards and made a trail through there. That's the only bear I've seen on the Appalachian Trail. The other one I didn't get a chance to see. People ask me all the time about bears, and I said, well, I've seen bears. Moose was actually the most dangerous animal on the Appalachian Trail. Most people don't know, but a moose is more dangerous than a bear. More people are killed in Canada by moose than by bears. And there's rattlesnakes on the Appalachian Trail, but I always felt safer on the Appalachian Trail than I do on Highway 94, or in my town is Highway 96. And I think statistically that's the case. Any questions? Yes?
Are there places to buy food along the way?
Yeah, are there places to buy food? Yeah. I actually had a trail guide, and this trail guide would tell, at every road crossing, it'd tell you which way to turn to get, whether it's a convenience store or a town. And I would go into towns, a lot of times hitchhiking, and would, after a few days, you go in, you resupply. A lot of times the trail will pass right through the middle of a town, and so you're able to get food there. It typically, I think the most I ever carried was 7 days supply of food to get to the next resupply.
I mean, most people go from south to north?
Most go from south to north. It's really a challenge going from north to south. There's a lot of difficulties, with black fly being in the biggest problem. Nobody wants to hike around black flies.
Did you do this? You didn't do this in one hike. You did it multiple.
What I did, I started out as a through hike. I wanted to do the whole thing in 2006, and I got 1,600 miles, and then I developed tendonitis on my knees to the point that I couldn't go anymore, and I just went home, and I went back in 2007 and finished the rest of the 2,200 miles. Most of the people I hiked with in the beginning weren't able to finish that year. Yeah, well, a lot of them never did finish it. The knees, feet, blisters, anything from the waist down is usually the problem. And then the other problem with that is from the neck up, because imagine walking 20 miles a day, and it sounds fun, and then you get up and the next day you walk 20 miles again, and pretty soon everything looks the same. And most of it is what they call the green tunnel. You're walking through a canopy and you don't even get to see views. And it actually, the biggest toll on hikers isn't the feet and the knees, it's just plain flat boredom. Yes? Somebody else?
How long does it take you? I mean, how many days?
If I added it all up, it would be about 5.5 months. And during that time, I think I carried 7 days supply of food a couple times, but most of the time, 3, 4, 5 days was the most you ever hiked before you had to get resupply. And when you're burning 5,000 to 7,000 calories, it doesn't take you long doing the math to figure out that's a lot of food, and most people just can't carry that much food. So you're basically starving all the time. In fact, you could always tell a long-distance backpacker because anybody else would walk by an M&M that's on the ground. So they had rattlesnakes and bears and moose, but the scariest thing I seen was I came out to a road crossing one day, and there was a sign. I'm a country boy. It said New York City, 34 miles, and nothing made me want to run like that. So. I'm not a big city guy. So. Yes?
I wanted to ask this 5 minutes ago, but I was embarrassed. Now that you describe all the difficulties and the boring, why do you do it? Or why people do it?
Yeah, you got to read the book. That's a $15 question. Read the book and maybe you'll understand. And maybe some people never will. There's times when I'm glad I did. Let's just put it that way. Yes. Yeah.
For anybody with children or grandchildren should know the Okie Dokie Brothers just released a record based on their hiking the Appalachian Trail. They won a Grammy last year for their travels on the Mississippi. So that's one reason.
Yes.
How about security and stuff like that? Walking the trail alone or in a group, any crime or anything like that occurs on this? Any concerns?
I read every day at the end of when you get to the shelters, there's journals, and everybody can write what they think's about in the journals. And I read one journal that said, came up here tonight to kill or rape somebody, and there wasn't nobody here, so maybe I come back tomorrow. I think it was just a hiker messing around with anybody. But I don't know of any crime that happened. There was the only crime that I know of was that some of the young kids brought along their glaucoma medicine, but that's as close to crime as I've seen. The Appalachian Trail is, for the most part, pretty safe, yeah. Yes?
What was your pack weight?
My pack weight, good question. My pack weight, empty, with no water and no food, started out, it was 19 pounds, and I spent a lot of time getting my weight down to that. In the wintertime, it was about 19 or 20 pounds, and then in the summer, I got down all the way down to about 15 pounds. You can't carry a lot of conveniences, which, to me, one of the things that I learned from the Appalachian Trail, and a lot of people learn this, is when you go back home, you realize that for 6 months, every morning you got up, you had to answer the 3 questions: what am I going to eat, where am I going to get water, and where am I going to sleep? And you boil, everything in life was like answering those questions, and the rest of it was to spend time with your friends and family, or whoever you're hiking with. And my point is that sometimes we so complicate our life with so many things and so many items we get our life too complicated and we miss some of the simplicity of life. And that was the beauty of the Appalachian Trail was you could have a great time with very, very little. And that, to me, was a great lesson. Yes?
Kind of two parts to this question. The first one is more philosophical. What changed in you after this, by all rights, your version of a walkabout? And the second part of it is, how long did it take for you to burn your clothes when you were finished?
I still got the clothes, and you can't wash the stink out. I actually wrote a book because after I got to mulling it over for a couple years about what everything boiled down to, my book is called Alone Together because most of the people that go to the Appalachian Trail go alone. But they make friends, they have locals to help you, and so the theme of my book might be, if you were to sum it up, is no man is an island. And I think that for me, the message always is, it's really about the people in your life. And we all owe a great gratitude to the people that went before us, just like the people that built the trail, that groomed the trail and take care of the trail. We have a multitude of people to thank. And so my last lines in my book is that any sense of accomplishment that I had from hiking the Appalachian Trail has to be shared with all the locals that helped me and the friends that helped to deal with some of that boredom. Yes?
I have two questions too. First one is what costs are involved in going on the trail. The second one is what got into you to do it in the first place?
I wrote a chapter in my book called The Courting. Another $15 question there. I got introduced to the Appalachian Trail by hiking it, and it was one of the most grueling 3 days of my life up to that point. And you would think that would scare me away, but it just sort of drew me in. And I was a burned out electrical contractor, tired of dealing with all the stress and strain of life. And so to me, that was sort of a way to get my hands around my life again.
Did it work?
Yeah, for a while. I went bad to a bad economy and had to start shutting my business down, basically. So.
Cost.
Oh. The way I did it, it was pretty expensive because I had to keep going home. I was an electrical contractor. And
paying to be on the trail and that kind of stuff.
Oh, I missed out on some funerals of some people that I would like to have been to their funerals.
Actually, you have to buy permits to be on the...
No, there's no
cost?
No. Okay. You had a question.
How much water can you carry? Can you make it between the water you can collect?
I had the question was, how much water do I carry? And I had a guide that told me where streams and springs and water supplies were. And so I learned early in my hiking endeavors that's one question that has to be answered before you go too far. Before you leave the water source you're at is, where's the next water source going to be? Because you go through a lot of water. I had, at the end of the day, I would have salt stains on my shirt that I would have to wash out from all the sweat that I had and the salt that it deposited. So you have to carry. Sometimes I carried as much as 4 quarts of water. Most of the time 1 or 2 though. Any other questions? Yeah.
Have you considered any other treks like Camino de Santiago or any other types of treks that kind of after this, have you thought about other treks?
Any hiking I do, I went and did the Tahoe Rim Trail, which took me 10 days or 11 days. But I've been married for 41 years, and if I tried to do this again, I wouldn't be married 42. So any hiking I do now, I do with my wife, and in fact, she refers to our vacations as Fat Camp. So this year, Fat Camp 7.0, We both have our eye on a trail. You guys have a marvelous trail we want to walk, and it goes from Duluth up to the Grand Maria, the North Country Trail, and we want to do that sometime. So, well, thank you. I enjoyed it. So, I.